Let's see what's cooking. Let's get the facts. Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hi, today we're making panda cookies, and this will be exactly the same technique that I used for the panda bread, except with a sugar cookie recipe. This is a no-spread sugar cookie recipe that works very well. Start off in a large bowl with 1 cup of softened butter. That's butter that's been brought to room temperature. Add 1 cup of plain white granulated sugar and cream those two things together until light and fluffy. Add to this 1 lightly beaten egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of almond extract or whatever other kind of extract that you want to add. Blend those things together, and then I'm adding 1/2 a tablespoon of baking powder and 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. Then I'm quickly mixing that before adding the flour. You're going to gradually add in 3 cups of all-purpose flour in 2 or 3 additions, blending after each addition, and you might have to switch to a wooden spoon to mix this if it gets a little bit too hard to mix. When you get to the end of beating this together, you'll notice that the dough is quite crumbly and it's a little bit dry. And what I did is towards the end, I just started using my hands to finish combining the dough and to bring it together into a ball shape. And I turned it out on the countertop. You don't want to knead it too much, but you do want to knead it so that it comes together into one whole piece of dough. If it is too soft and too sticky, you can put it in the refrigerator to harden a little bit. Now, to cut it up, the first cutting of the large dough ball, you're going to cut it into thirds. So there's 1/3, there's the second third, and for the final third, you need to divide that as well. So cut that into thirds, take the larger piece, divide it into 2, and add it to the other 2 pieces. So what you end up with are 2 equally sized large balls of dough, and the third one is only 1/3 of the size of the largest dough ball. If at any time you find this dough to become too sticky or hard to work with, you can refrigerate it a little bit to make it easier to work with. However, I didn't really have that problem the day that I made these. Take one of the larger of the dough balls and you're going to tint it green by using some green food color. I'm using gel food color in this particular case, and just knead the color in until you get a nice uniform color green. Then take the smaller of those 3 dough balls, and this one we're going to tint black. I will also provide you with a website link to a place where they made these panda cookies with a sugar cookie mix from the store, and they used cocoa to tint this portion brown. So you can go check that out if you're interested in doing that instead of using black food color. Now for the last large dough ball, you're going to divide this into 3 pieces, 2 large pieces and 1 that's about half the size of those other 2 large ones. Set those aside. Take the black dough ball, divide it into 4 equal pieces. Put those aside. Take the green piece, divide it into 2, 1 large and 1 that's 1/3 the size of the large dough ball. Now for assembly, take one of the large white pieces, roll it out into a log shape that's about 8 inches long. This dough is a little crumbly and is a little bit frustrating to work with, but when you work with it and it starts to take on some of the heat of your hands, it becomes a little bit easier to use. Then roll out one of the small black pieces into a rope shape. Brush the large one with a little bit of water or milk, and then place the small black piece on the top. Repeat with another small black piece and put it beside it, leaving about a 1/2 inch gap between the 2 pieces. Roll out the small white piece. You'll notice one of the black pieces fell off. We're going to have to stick that back on. Roll out the white piece, small white piece, and put it between the 2 black pieces. Those will be the eye patches. And now the cookie there is right side up, if you can imagine that. Take the last large white piece, put it on a piece of wax paper, roll it out into a large rectangle that's 8 inches long and about 4 inches wide, 3.5 inches wide. Flip your cookie log over top of it, upside down, and then you're going to just flip the wax paper so that the large rectangle is now on top. And then just gently press to make sure that all the cookie layers are stuck together. Then take another yet black piece, roll it out, brush the log with some of the milk or water. I'm using milk. And then place it on top. These are going to be the panda ears. So you're going to do the same thing with the last piece. If your rope pieces break, that's okay. Just put them on and mold them back together. And now for the green, take the smaller of the green pieces, roll it out into a log shape, brush with a little bit of water or milk, and then put it between the two black pieces. And for the final piece of green, on waxed paper or parchment paper, using a rolling pin or your hands, just pat it out into a large rectangle that's about 8 inches by 5 inches. Flip that log onto the top of it so that the green is facing down. And now we want to wrap that green piece over top of the log. Oh, I forgot to put the milk. The layers have a tendency to separate unless you brush it with water or milk to keep it stuck all together. Then using the wax paper, just bring it up and roll it over until you get like a blanket over top of it. Then press gently all over to seal up the seams. Roll it up in wax paper or put it in a Ziploc bag, and then chill it thoroughly in the refrigerator several hours or overnight, or in the freezer for 45 minutes to an hour. What you want to do is to chill this thoroughly so that the dough log is very, very firm. That way when you slice into 1/4-inch slices, like I'm doing now with a sharp knife, that log will not deform and your cookies will retain their shape. Then take the cookie slices, put them on a cookie sheet that's been greased or covered with a silicone mat, and bake them at 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes until they're firm and they're just a tiny bit light brown on the edges. Then put them on a cookie rack to cool. You'll notice the cookies do not change shape almost at all when they're baking. This is a really good recipe for this kind of cookie and for cutout cookies that have a nice delicate shape to them. Once the cookies are cooled, you can draw on a little nose and a mouth, if you'd like, with some black frosting. And there are your completed panda cookies. If you're interested in trying the panda bread, I'll put a link in the description box and on the annotations on your screen. So don't forget to give me a thumbs up after you watch this video if you like these cookies, and give them a try.